Hi there, I am Jan Hichu. I teach at the University of Pretoria, and this is part of our CPD course where we are looking at building performance assessment. This course is covering both the theory behind assessing the performance of buildings or architecture, but will also cover a series of programs. These specific videos will be covering the IESve program that one could use. I think it's one of the better programs out there to do performance assessments, and in the South African context have actually been AGRIMA approved. So it's one of the software packages you can use to do modeling for your SANS 10400XA modeling requirements. And in future, as we would be getting more sustainable or green building bylaws that would require modeling, this program is, I think, again, a good basis to work from. There's going to be a number of short videos that will cover different aspects of the program. It's purposely short so that one could simply watch the segment or the phase where you're at in the program. And yeah, we will be covering a lot of that. So you see there is a bar that lifted, but it's not really critical for now. You would all have gone through the video that showed you how to install IES and access it via the VPN that gives you access to the university. So I assume that you've opened it and you will get this screen. This is the screen that ultimately, yeah, the welcome screen. I generally just say create project. There's nothing specific to that. You don't really need to upload a template, and you'll see that sometimes it does load an existing building footprint on for you, but I find it quite not really helping the process, so I just simply delete that. I prefer starting with a project from scratch. As you'll see that there are ways that one could import um, preferences or different settings into new projects that could save a bit of time. We're not really going to deal with that, but you're welcome to look into that as well. So this first video, just to orientate you in terms of what you see here. This is, I think, like any other program that you've engaged with. There's the basic toolbars at the top. Then you've got the shortcuts that I personally don't often use that that much, but again, just typically changing to what you need. I think some of it's helpful in terms of how you model. I think the first thing to understand is that IES is based on the Energy Plus model. It also includes a program called Radiance. So the Energy Plus um, what was it, program on which it's based was developed as in the US as part of it's actually a freeware program, but the interface is quite difficult. So in many ways, you should see IES as an interface working with an existing program that can do assessments for you. You'll see therefore that the IES program then has a number of what I like to call smaller little tools, and actually requires in the end a specific protocol of working. But you'll see that there's the modeling aspects. There is a program called Suncast, through which we do solar analysis. There's also Apache, through which we do the simulations, and Vista Pro, through which we view the simulations. There's also the Apache HVAC. I don't use it, and I'm not a mechanical engineer. MacroFlow, which helps us to model and window openings and closings and seeing how that affects the indoor conditions. And then as you go down, there's also two wizards or tools to help you with compliance. You're welcome to look at that in your own time. We won't be covering that. And then there's the flux and radiance tools, which we do use to assess daylight conditions and indoor lighting qualities. And then if you wanted to, you're also welcome to look at the cost value. Egress, for instance, talks about how people exit buildings, and then the mechanical aspects, which I think is not specific for interior architects or architects. And finally, microflow, CFD modeling. It's a very complex process, CFD modeling, and it takes a lot of computational power. We will not cover this in this course, but also, you also see it is available. What you'll just to note is that when you buy IES, it gives you actually, at the university, you'll have access to all the tools, but generally you have selected tools if you buy a subscription in the end. So those are the tools that one access. There's also navigators that can help you as wizards that can take you through different processes should you want to achieve certain outcomes in your model. You can look at that. We won't be covering that. At the bottom, you see the spaces that starts developing. We'll cover that more in terms of the modeling. And then you'll see at the top there is the toolbar that's specific to the tool you're using. So you'll see in modeling, in the model IT or model it tool, where we do the modeling of the geometry of the model, that's what you see. But as you okay, let's not save now, but as you move to an alternative tool to assess, you'll see that the toolbar at the top changes, and so it's specific to each tool. Yeah, so I think just to orientate you there, so it's important to use the tools at the top. You'll see at the bottom your you'll see where the project is located. We'll also adjust that in the end, and I'll go through each phase in terms of what the important settings are. This is certainly a complex program. We won't deal with it in detail with every aspect, but we will deal with what I would argue would be the important aspects for architects or interior architects to be able to undertake a project and to assess the performance of the project. Good. I think one last aspect that you can do is, as you've now opened it, before we stop the video, is you can go to preferences, and just important to check there that your units is actually correct. You can choose between imperial or metric, and the rest of it should actually be actually be in place and should be correct for you. So you don't need to change anything there yet. And then lastly, as you then start with the project, it's important to save the project, save where you can access it again. So I would typically go and say save as, and you can then choose a folder which you think is appropriate. So we will use the IES folder here, or yeah, let's do it. I think it's better to save it within an existing folder that you can use, and the reason being, so we'll call it IES test project. And what happens is, in that folder, it also saves all the other data that you'll be using. So that folder ultimately becomes in itself the complete folder that you will access and also copy over in the end. So you'll see here, I'm just dragging this over. This is the project, IESve test project 1. You open it up, and there you'll see it's got the IES project itself that you are modeling, but in there, any work you'll be doing in terms of macro flow, radiance, suncast assessments, Vista Pro, all that then gets saved within this folder. So that's the only important thing to remember is get a good space where you save the folder, and if you ever move it, you have to move the complete folder. You can't just simply only move this one little IESve file. It's not going to work. Everything gets saved in here. Preferably don't move it. Just find a good place where you can save it and work with it in the end. Good. This concludes then the basic orientation video. You're welcome to also look online. There's a number of videos that will also take it further and explain all the different aspects required of the IESve program.